Good afternoon, everyone. I am Joshua Alcantara from Pit4C, the second reporter for this afternoon. And I'm going to discuss the origins and history of globalization and criticism on the existing evidences of globalization. Pero bago ko discuss to, ay didiscuss ko muna sa inyo kung saan nga ba nagmula ang salitang globalization. Ang globalization ay nagmula sa salitang globalize, na ibig sabihin ay emergence of an international network of economic system. O sa madaling salita, ang ugnayan ng iba't ibang bansa sa buong mundo. At ang terminong globalization ay unang ginamit ni Theodore Levitt noong 1980s. Ngayon naman, tapos ko na i-discuss sa inyo kung saan nga ba nagmula ang salitang globalization. Ngayon ay dadako na tayo sa the 5 perspectives on the origin of globalization. We have 5 perspective of globalization. Ito ay ang the hardwired, cycles, epochs, events, and broader. Una ay ang hardwired. Hardwired proposes that globalizations originated from the basic motivation of human beings to seek a better life by Chanda 2007. Globalization is innate. The birth of human being is the birth of change. The birth of change is the birth of globalization. Sinasabi lamang sa perspektibong ito na ang globalization ay nagsimula sa mga motibasyon ng mga tao na magkamit ng maginhawang buhay at ayon nga din sa ating kasaysayan na ang ating mga ninuno ay palipat-lipat ng kanilang tirahan na kung saan mayroong masaganang pagkain. At sa ating panahon naman ngayon, ito ay ating tinatawag na migration, na isang halimbawa ng globalization. For our second perspective is cycles. Cycles. Globalization is a rolling process. It may appear, disappear, and reappear. Hence, finding its origin is really hard. It cannot be determined. So, it explains that there is no single point of origin in globalization, but is a long-term cyclical process. Pinapaliwanag lang dito na walang eksaktong pinagmulan ang globalization at ito ay isa lamang long-term and cyclical process. Maaaring ang proseso at ang konsepto ng globalization sa kasalukuyan ay bunga lamang ng pagbabago sa nakaraan at hindi maaaring mabago sa ating kasalukuyan. For our third perspective is the epochs. Epochs explain that there are waves of globalization that took place in the past and each of them has its own origin. Epochs is a certain period of time that has brought significant changes to the world. Ang epochs ay may tinatawag na waves of globalization, na kung saan ay may panahon na pinagmula ng globalization at hindi rin ito maaaring maganap sa future ang naganap sa nakaraan. At ito ang ilang halimbawa ng epochs mula kay Thorborn. Una ay ang religions, Christianity, Islam in 4th to 7th century, the European colonial conquest, late 15th century. The intra-European wars, late 18th to early 19th century. The heyday of European imperialism, mid-19th to 1918. And the post-World War and the post-Cold War. And ito naman ang ating pang-apat na perspective on the origin of globalization, which is the event. Specific the events that is somehow responsible for the origin of the globalization. Ito ang ating pang-apat na perspective sa origin of globalization, kung saan nagmula ang ating globalization and it is different from cycle and epochs, sapagkat ito ay may exact time kung saan kailan naganap ang tinuturing na pinagmulan ng ating globalization. At ito nga ang halimbawa ng events. These are the examples na nagpapatunay sa pinagmulan ng globalization. Una dito ay ang The Discovery of America by Christopher Columbus in 1942, the Vasco da Gama rounding the Cape of Good Hope 1498, and the Ferdinand Magellan ship completed circumnavigation 1522. And for our last perspective is the broader. This is for our last perspective, origin of globalization. Ang broader ay naniniwala sa perspektibo na ang ugat globalization ay nakabase sa pangyayari at pagbabagong naganap lamang sa panahon ng second half of the 20th century. And now, we're done to discuss the 5 perspective origin of globalization. Ngayon naman ay dadako na tayo sa tatlong criticisms on the existing evidences of globalization. Una dito ay ang rejectionist. Rejectionist, ito ang mga tao na salungat o sumasalungat sa mabuting dulot ng globalization. Second is the skeptics. Ito naman ang mga tao na nagdududa sa kakayahan o limitasyon ng globalization at sa mga mabuting dulot sa atin ito. And for the last is the modifiers. This is the person na naniniwala sa kahulugan o real definition concept of globalization ay nag-iiba sa kasulukuyan pagkakaintindi ng mga tao. And that is my brief discussion about origins and history of globalization and criticism on the existing evidences of globalizations. Thank you for listening. That's all. Thank you and God bless.